What a glorious time to be a fan and a follower of the San Diego Padres.
Yes.
Man, Derek Togerson, Darnay Tripp on Friar podcast brought to you by NBC7. Derek, you've been covering this team for a minute. Taking away the postseason, because postseason is its own beast. Not too long ago, we enjoyed just an incredible ride, like an all-timer. Regular season, in terms of the regular season, like the most fun time to be a Padres fan since...
Man,
other than like when they clinched in 2022, because that's, I'm thinking like in the middle of like the meat of a regular season.
Right. 2022 obviously is a different beast. 2020 is, you had the whole pandemic thing going on, so it was kind of hard to figure out how anybody was feeling. 2010, they won 90 games. They had a lead for a while, suffered a 10-game losing streak late in the season, kind of late in the season. Lost to the Giants on the last day of the year. And the Giants went on to win the World Series that year for the first time in San Francisco history with Bruce Bochy. That was a whole different animal. That team kind of felt like, we're not sure how they're doing this. It was David Eckstein, who was phenomenal that year, and like Scott Hairston's of the world. Like, you're kind of, Adrian Gonzalez was a superstar, but really not a whole lot else. Aaron Harang, I believe, was on that team. So you're kind of going, that Trevor Hoffman and Adrian Gonzalez and really not a whole lot else. So you're kind of going, how are they doing this? Before that, 2006, I think they won the division, but still was kind of like, well, maybe, I don't know, I guess maybe they can do some damage, although they're going up against the Albert Pujols-led Cardinals. They just didn't have the star power then. 2007, they go to game 163. Matt Holliday still has not touched the plate, so that was exciting at least. 2005, they win the division with 82 wins, and nobody thought they were going to do anything there. So I think in the time I got here in 2005, I think in the time that I've been here, this is, if we're throwing out 2022 and the trade deadline of 2022, this is probably the most exciting and optimistic that Padres fans have been, and by the way, have the right to be. It's really interesting.
Yeah. I enjoyed that. A brief recent history of the San Diego Padres from Derek Togerson. And they've never been hotter than they are right now. 19-3, just incredible. And so loads of good things, exciting things to discuss on this episode of On Friar. Appreciate OGs, the sponsor of the On Friar podcast. Thanks for all they do for us and for the NBC7 sports team. You want to catch a game, Padres game, whatever else is going on, college football in a couple weeks, NFL shortly to follow. Go to OGs, tons of TVs, great menu. Always updating their menu, lots of good stuff, and an awesome beer list. And so check out OGs next time you want to kick it with some friends and family and go watch a game and enjoy some good food and good drinks. Without further ado, the welcome music. On Friar podcast coming to you from a much needed and well-deserved Thursday day off for the San Diego Padres after a sweep of the Pirates onto the Rocks Coors Field this weekend. Who knows what will await them there, but it seems like no matter what, things have broken in the way of the Padres lately. And so what a ride it has been these last few weeks, really since the All-Star break, the game after the first game back in the All-Star break, dropped that one, and then 19-3 for the first time in club history. It's just like crazy. Nobody expects to go like 19-3. Although Jackson Merrill did say after Wednesday, this is what we should be doing. This doesn't come as a surprise to us. And what I love about Jackson Merrill, I love the optimism. Kid also doesn't have any scar tissue. You know what I mean? It feels like he and Mike Schilt just kind of enter in this thing, just like wide-eyed, optimistic. This is how it should go, ho-hum, while the rest of us are kind of like dealing with the trauma of previous seasons and letdowns. Not Jackson Merrill. This is what we should expect. And he's not fazed by it, but I think the rest of us are like, holy moly, this is pretty incredible.
It's a great attitude for a ball player to have, because you need to go into every game thinking, of course we're going to win today. Why would we put limits on ourselves? But to say that 19-3 is the norm is maybe a little bit out there. But you know what? What else would we rather have him saying? We have him saying like, man, I didn't see this coming. This is
Yeah.
fantastic. This is great. This is better than I ever imagined in my wildest dreams. Like, you don't want that attitude either. So yeah, don't accept anything less than trying to go out and believing you can win every single game. And that first game against Cleveland coming out of the All-Star break was 7-0, right? Since then, they've lost games by 3 runs, 2 runs, and 1 run. Like, they've been in every game, and they've won a truckload of 1 run and close ball games. So they haven't gotten blown out. They've been in everything. It's just really cool to see that they're not just even when they fall down 7-3 or 5-0, whatever it is, they come back and they at least put themselves in a position to win the baseball game. And then Ha-seong Kim, one less point of barometric pressure in Miami, and that game is tied. I mean, just even to be in that situation after being down 5-0 it's phenomenal.
Quick shout out to our friend Maria, always in the chat, always
What's up, Maria?
checking us out in the pod. Jackson Merrill is just unbelievable. We will discuss him. Musgrove looked great as well. Hi, guys. Hi to you, Maria. We'll discuss Merrill. We will discuss Musgrove. Three Migos. Dodgers go down. Dodgers go down. NL West crown down to 2 games. Are we in first place by Monday, Derek? Who do the Dodgers have?
Who do the Dodgers play this weekend?
It's not the Rockies. I know that much. They've got the Cardinals. Yeah, Cardinals for 3. Looks like in St. Louis. And then they've got the Mariners, who have been a good ball club, but kind of up and down as the season's gone on.
And then how about the Diamondbacks? Because they, by the way, are a factor as well.
The Diamondbacks are a factor. Diamondbacks Dodgers at the end of the month. They play 4. As for
in Tampa Bay, start a 3-game series.
Yeah, and so they got the Rays, then they got the Marlins, Red Sox, Mets, potentially a big series for Arizona, but in the immediate future, maybe the Cardinals, a team that still has some playoff aspirations, can surprise the Dodgers. And going into Coors Field again, we've made the mistake of saying on paper, yes, they should win some games against the Rockies earlier this season. That was not the case. Made up for a little bit recently. So we'll see where that goes. But here they are, 2 games away, just reeling them in little by little.
And it is truly little by little. Last week we were I remember when Jay Riff and John Schaefer kind of started giving us some business during the On Friar podcast. It was
they're giving you business. They were giving you business, Derek. They weren't giving me business. They were giving you business.
They're giving me business. Yes, 2.5 games out of first place. Can they win the division? I'm like, yeah, but they're not going to. So they go 5-1 this last week, and what happens? They gained half a game on the Dodgers and lost a game to the Diamondbacks through no fault of their own. That's the thing. Like, it's not so much, are the Padres capable of doing this? Yes, they're capable of doing this. I'm not sure the Dodgers are going to fall that far back to earth, especially after just getting Mookie Betts back and more reinforcements are coming. And the Diamondbacks are not going away anytime soon. So this is going to be one of those really fun stretch runs where all 3 teams will get in the postseason. It's going to have to do with seeding at that point. And then you still caution at the win and see what the heck happens.
Yeah. A birthday shout out to 3DC. Hi, I'm back. It was my birthday. How are you guys doing? We are great.
Hey,
and we hope
happy belated birthday.
Hope you had a fantastic birthday there, 3DC. Yeah, man. Schedule makers might have done us a real solid given what's coming up the last 2 series, the last full week of the season. Now, both will be away from Petco Park. Man, that would have been electric, especially a Dodger series with something on the line. But going to Dodger Stadium for 3, going to Chase Field for 3, if this holds up and it's within 3 games, heck, maybe even 4 with 6 games that could, potentially swing things late, will make it super, super compelling, really, really exciting, and like a taste of playoff baseball before the playoffs arrive. And like you said, as it stands right now, it looks like all 3 teams will go in, but you're looking at obviously a division crown. Then you're looking at hosting a wild card and hosting that wild card series, because whoever the 2 wild card teams are at the top, they play one another. Who's at home? And so whether it's a division crown, whether it's hosting that series, and a 3-gamer where like you got to go away for all 3 of them, you're not going to come back, like your life is on the line. We saw the Padres do it at Citi Field, but I'm sure they'd be more comfortable having their playoff lives on the line here rather than going to Arizona.
What would be really nice, Darnay, is that series right before they go on the road for those final 6. The last homestand of the year, their last home series of the year is against who?
Not a super great baseball team.
The Chicago White Sox. So it would be really nice to at least have clinched a playoff spot of some kind by the time you're done with that White Sox series. After that, as you said, it's positioning. It's can we win the division? Can we maybe get a first round bye? How crazy would that be? Can we host the first round and get Arizona in here, or LA and whoever it happens to be, for a best out of 3 wild card series? But if you're in, as we've seen, man, the last 2 years, a number 6 seed in the National League has won the pennant. The Padres have won. They won in 2022 was the 5 seed. It's just the teams that get these first round buys, as we've talked about, it's almost like it kills the momentum a little bit. Houston, since they went to this expanded format and a couple of first round buys, Houston's the only team that had a first round buy that has made it to the World Series. It's kind of interesting to see how baseball, man, you keep going, and if you have to sit for a while, it's hard to light that fire and flip that switch again.
Yeah, it's a great point, and we discussed it briefly, I think, a couple podcasts ago. Just like, okay, do you actually want that division title? Do you want the bye because of the track record, and because, look, we saw it in 2022 when they clinched, they got in and had to go on the road, tough environment, went the full 3 games, and they obviously pulled it out, looked really good, and then did what they did against the Dodgers. So I think that is a real conversation that I think we should be having, in the weeks to come, if it remains this close, is like, okay, obviously you want to win the division. That's a goal. They haven't done it in a very long time. Was it 05 or 06 last time they won the division?
6.
And so there's no doubt you want that, but there is the other element of like kind of rest versus rest. I do
How about
think
this? Get the 3 seed, win the West, let the Phillies and Brewers finish 1 and 2. You still get home field. You still get to host that. You get to raise the division championship banner, and you get to play that first round.
There you go. Yeah. And as you've noted in the past, I mean, the Brewers, especially with the Dodgers kind of, playing 500-ish ball now for a while, Dodgers don't have the usual cushion on the rest of the National League that you would expect. And so that is a reasonable thing that could happen. And, the other element too is like, okay, if those last 2 series are playoff type games, and so you have some of that experience, and then you get a break, and maybe like mentally, physically, you could use that break. I think where it does get difficult is like, with the Dodgers in previous years, like when was the last time before in NLDS that they played a meaningful baseball game? Like June?
Yeah, they were so far ahead for so long.
So, and they had it wrapped up, and it's just like, hey, are they going to set a franchise record for wins? And, is Mookie Betts going to win MVP? And, there's these other kind of conversations, but it's not like, hey, our lives are on the line. And they really never have that experience the entire season because they're just expected to run away with the division, and they do it. And then it is October, and all of a sudden you have to play with your, baseball life on the line. And so I wonder if that element will factor into like how prepared those teams are, even if they do get that bye.
Hey, look up for me real fast, will you, the 2021 playoffs?
Okay.
Because the Dodgers, that was a year the Giants just went out of their minds and won, 107, 108 games, something like that.
Something like that, yeah. Uh-huh.
And the Dodgers did not win the division. They won a wild card.
Mm-hmm.
They beat the Cardinals in the wild card. They beat the Giants in the NLDS. And then they eventually lost to the Braves, who would go on to win the World Series. Am I correct in that?
You're correct in that, yes.
So they won a series when they had to go play a wild card game.
Yeah,
lending a little more credence to what we're talking about right now, right?
Yes, yeah, exactly. Yeah, they were the 4 seed, Cardinals were the 5, and they had to play right away, and they got the job done. And go down to obviously a very worthy, very quality Braves team. That wasn't one of those like, the Nats kind of came seemingly out of nowhere after the rough start. 2022 postseason, Braves lost to the Phillies. I don't know if people expected the Phillies to kind of go on a run the way that they did. Padres.
Well, they were the 6th seed, man. That came out of nowhere.
Yeah, Padres, I think, caught a lot of people by surprise. I think, us close to home thought, hey, puncher's chance. But yeah, that's a great call by you. When they've had to go the full road, they didn't make it to the World Series, but they didn't flame out the way that they have in the past kind of early on.
Correct. So it's, again, there's something to be said for that. And that Braves team in 2021, that was the one that was like scuffling through the year, and they had the massive trade deadline. They added Soler and Duvall, but that was a year like Ronald Acuna Jr. got hurt.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So you're thinking, how on earth are they going to do this? And they figured it out, man.
Yeah. Yeah. Three Amigos chiming in. We got to take the NL West crown. Best NL record. Can you imagine Petco rocking throughout the playoffs? Yes, I can. Yes, I can. I have some memories of that, and I would like to relive that. Dodgers have no bullpen starting pitching. All they have is slug. They cooked like Bo Mel infamously said. Our buddy Lauren would be nice to see. This is cool. I like this idea. Western Metal Supply Building be changed to Western Division Champs. That'd be
that's what they did in 05 and 06. Yeah.
Oh, did they do that?
Yeah, nice. They dropped the banner down. Actually, it's
there you
really
go.
Cool. In fact, there's a really cool video. You can probably find it on YouTube of good old Matt Vasgersian, saying Western Division champs for 2005. And it's because they won in they clinched the division in 06 in Arizona. But last time they clinched it at home was 05, and they dropped that banner on the Western Metal Building. Everybody went,
yeah. That'd be incredible. It is crazy to think in 2022 that they ended up with home field in the NLCS. It doesn't feel that way because 3 games in Philly ended the series, and so you had like this brief glimpse of them at Petco Park. There was all the excitement, the lead up. They split those 2 games. Phillies take the first. So it's like they had home field, but looking back on it, didn't necessarily kind of feel that way because the season ended in Philly, and I think we all expected them to come back at least for one, and that wasn't the case.
Remember, dude, I was there in Philly, man. That place.
Yeah.
I have rarely seen a baseball atmosphere like that place. Citizens Bank Park was, like I've said, man, the best thing I can come up with is, you ever watch like the Mad Max movies? It was like Thunderdome. It was complete. It was wild. It was just wild. I mean, that stadium was into every single pitch. It was like, the Petco Park crowd was astonishing. And San Diego baseball fans, San Diego sports fans get a bad rap for absolutely no reason whatsoever. Dean Spanos is dumb behind it, a lot of this, thinking kind of paint us as a bad sports town picture. It's not the case at all. And I've said this for years. What the crowd does at Petco Park is it is into it, and it is supporting the team. And it is like, it gives energy to the home team. It's incredibly supportive. In Philly, and Darnay, you're from there, you know this. In Philly, they suck the energy out of the opponent. Like there's just such an intensity and a negativity and a hostility that comes out of those fans. And it's almost like it's sucking the energy out of the other team. That's the best way I can describe it. Is San Diego fans pump up the Padres, Philadelphia fans destroy the opponent.
Yeah. And like, it would have been cool to see, like, because I want to say both games in San Diego were kind of earlier starts too. Like, it'd be cool to see it under the light, like, game 4 against the Dodgers, like under the lights, you know what I mean? Yep. Like that Saturday atmosphere.
Raining
and all
late.
that.
Josh Hader comes out to do the one thing he did good in the Padre uniform.
Just like incredible vibes, the towels, all that. So yes, very, very much looking forward to that. Yeah, Grit Squad. I love the title, by the way. Grit Squad. 2022 Dodgers playoff game at Petco reminded me of a big time SEC football game. I've been to an SEC championship, and the one thing that is different is like it is, SEC. It is like Bama and Georgia, or the one I went to is LSU and Georgia, and so you got the strong representation on both sides, but just electric. It is amazing to see it all, for one team, or 90%, 95% for one team.
And I've been to Jordan. I've been to Auburn. I've been to against LSU and Joe Burrow's third career collegiate start.
Oh, there you go.
I've been to Knoxville, Neyland Stadium. It's different, dude. It is. And that's actually, Grit Squad. That's a great name. That is very apt, because there's no chill in an SEC football crowd. It is into it every single minute, every single play call, every single timeout. It is intense. And that's really, really kind of what it feels like. Yeah, exactly. My wife's an Auburn girl. So War Eagle to you, Grit Squad.
How do we not have Grit Squad t-shirts yet, by the way? As quickly as they turn around these t-shirts, like they now have the Cease and Musgrove no-hitter shirts and all of that. Like they turn them around like that. How is there not a picture of Mike Schilt that says Grit Squad on it yet? Well,
before they even got back from the Dodgers series, where Will Smith called Jurickson Profar irrelevant, they had irrelevant shirts in the clubhouse. Like it's quick.
Yeah. Yeah, so I don't know what the deal is, but
Yeah, Three Amigos Sixman is technically in the SEC, although they're not traditionally an SEC
no.
school, so they are kind of like looked at as the interlopers.
Yeah, I think that was his. Apparently, that was his point. He's like, "Are we really consider them an SEC
Yeah,
team?" But
I thought you were going there.
I
Yes.
think that's how everybody
Yeah.
kind of used
It's
them.
like Missouri. Is Missouri really an SEC school? Like, and by
Is-
the way, Texas and Oklahoma this year are going to figure out real fast what the SEC is all about and how it is dramatically different than the Big 12.
are USC and UCLA and Washington and Oregon really Big Ten schools? I mean, this is just the world that we live in, sadly.
In a decade, we will be saying yes.
No.
But for those of us who grew up on the West Coast with the Pac-12, the Conference of Champions, or the Pac-10, it was a Pac-8 when I first became conscious of it. It's weird. That's gonna take a long time to really have it sink in.
We are this is the last one. We got to get off the SEC topic because Derek's got a good like 20-30 minutes he can give us. But Oklahoma first SEC game is at Auburn. So I'm sure Derek already knew that, and I'm sure he and Aaron already have their viewing plans all buttoned up for that one.
Oh yeah, we're trying to figure out what Hugh Freeze is going to do for that one to screw it up.
All right, back to the Padres. 19-3. Grit Squad keeps showing up. Finally, a comfortable, nice, cozy victory on Wednesday, which they needed after a bunch of close shaves, I guess. And I was kind of thinking, like, so much of the inverse of last year is like hey, if they can win some close games, they'll be back in the playoff race. It never happened. This year, they're winning the close games. Is there anything like back of your mind, like, if they stop winning these close games, they could be in trouble? But that's been the DNA of this team, is like they continue to win these close games, find ways to win, get contributions from all over. And so that is their identity going back to the Soul series. But it has been one kind of interesting element to this, is like they've had to do it by, gritting out wins one after another. No reason to think that they won't do that, but they have been somewhat on a razor's edge in a lot of these games.
Yeah, and what's really been nice about this is, like, look at the Pirates series. There was a lot of very shoddy defense played by the Pittsburgh Pirates, and that helped. So you can say, well, they kind of got lucky against a bad team that was not playing very good defense. But on the other side of that is the Padres were putting the ball in play. They were putting pressure on the opposing team, and the opposing team was able to handle it, while the Padres were making the plays they needed to make. In fact, the one game that they lost in Miami, 2 errors in 1 inning, that sealed the deal. They did not make the plays they needed to make. That's been the exception to the rule for this streak that they're on. So they keep on putting pressure on opposing teams, and the other teams are not making the plays that they need to make. So that really is what swings it one way or another in a close game. And that's not just baseball. As you know, Darnay, that's every sport, right? How many times have you seen a close basketball game where somebody hits their free throws, the other team doesn't, who wins?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like that situation. They keep on just they're not beating themselves, I think is what I'm trying to say. They're not beating themselves, and they're getting the hits they need to get when other teams are not getting the hits that they need to get at the right time. Now, they're not going to go 19-4 in every 23 game stretch. That's unrealistic to say. Now, in any 23 game stretch, can they realistically go 15-8? Yes. Will that get them in the playoffs? Also, yes. So I think as long as they're not going to stay this hot, but if they start to come back to earth a little bit, but still play winning baseball, instead of stacking sweeps, they stack series wins, maybe even lose a series here and there, they're still going to have an overall winning record. I think that's what we have to guard ourselves against is what happened? They cooled off. Well, they're still playing winning baseball. They're just not, everything's not going their way at one time like it was before. And that's still a positive and a winning thing. Am I making any sense here?
Completely. And that's, apologies to Jackson Merrill. Like, you might not go 19-3, but that's going to be okay. What is it? 8 straight series. I saw AJ Cassavell tweet a 9th would be a franchise record for consecutive series wins. And so, like, I keep waiting for them. I've talked to a couple of people about it, like, to drop a series and like it be okay, to maybe lose 4 of 6 for a stretch and like it theoretically be okay because they've built up some cushion in the wild card race. And, you know, if that does some damage to their division hopes, what have you, like our stress in March and April wasn't about winning the division. It was about just getting into the playoffs. And now they've put themselves in good position to do so. So yeah, like you said, even if they cool off a little bit, there's no room for panic. I mean, they'd have to go like a week without winning for us to really like set off some alarms. And I think that's good. And I think that's what Mike Shildt's been hoping for, is to not feel like every loss he's asked like, hey, what's the deal with your team? You know, to build up enough goodwill to feel like, okay, we can weather some of that because we've done so much otherwise. And now having 3 straight winning months and now August off to a really good start, you know, they've built themselves the kind of cushion and insurance to be able to do that. Grit Squad's
I'm
wondering
liking
if
all
95 wins.
yeah, I'm liking all this, by the way. I've got all y'all who are in the chat right now. Fantastic. We love this kind of interaction. Obviously, it gets us jazzed up too. So Grit Squad says, does 95 wins win the division? And then he chases that with, I know Derek doesn't believe we can do it. Yes, make it
Tell him, Grit Squad.
Derek is showing up. But I will say this. Okay, they are right now at 69 wins with 40 games left. To get to 95, they need 26 more wins. Now, I put it on the calculator app here because I have a mathematics learning disability, diagnosed, by the way, not just saying that. They need to go 26 and 14. So 26 and 14 down the stretch gets to 95 wins. With the way they played, I'm not going to put it past them. Now, am I going to predict that's going to be the case? No, I think 90 wins, 91 wins sounds a lot more realistic. I am kind of getting to the point now where I'm like, I maybe need to stop questioning this team a little bit, because they're really good. But here's the thing. The Dodgers still, they only need to get to 95 wins. They need 24 wins.
Yeah.
So they're still 2 ahead. So that's the thing. 95 wins might win the division. 97 wins might be what it takes to actually do that if the Dodgers catch fire down the stretch. And now you're talking about 28 and 12. That's a big ask.
And when they're coming off 19 and 3 to go 26 and 12, and it's like your winning percentage is like just a tick over 2/3, like 68%. You know, it doesn't feel that far fetched to now. Again, it's, you know, 20, it's also 22 games as opposed to 40. It's a longer stretch. You know, and what happens if they button up the division, if the Dodgers, like, there's a lot of different factors in this, but I don't think you can sit here given what they've done and be like, no, they can't get to 95. Does it win it? You know, and again, as you've pointed out, like the Diamondbacks have some say in this as well, and they've been playing out of their minds. And so it might be a 97. Somebody might have to really go crazy and go out and get it, or sustain it the way the DBacks and Padres have the last few weeks. But it's an interesting conversation, and I hadn't really done the math, you know, until Grid Squad brought it up on, you know, what a final number would look like, and that feels like it feels like it's close. It feels like it's something somebody could get to at this point with a month and a half left in the season.
Well, I will say that, I mean, 90 wins get you in the playoffs, right? We can pretty much all agree on that. They're 21 wins. They got to go 21 and 19 down the stretch to get to 90 wins. They haven't won 90 games since 2010. That's kind of wild. So if they can just get to that, then we'll be cool. So basically, just if they go, say, 22 and 18, 91 wins, they're in the playoffs. I would take that. By 22 and 18 doesn't sound great compared to what they've just been doing, but it's infinitely doable, right? That's not even asking all that much. They can absolutely handle that. And that's where I think we start looking at it as, okay, do that and you're good. As long as you don't get swept by the Mets or swept by the Cardinals, with those teams that are chasing you in the wild card hunt, then that's when those wins mean twice as much. So there's still a lot of calculus to be done here. The Padres' magic number right now for the playoffs is what, like 35, 36? I'll take that with 40 games to play.
And, you know, look, 84 got you into the postseason last year. And you look at where like the Mets and the Giants are, 62, 61 wins. If they go 500 or a tick above 500, you're looking at like 86 wins. So, I mean, I think like 87, 88 probably gets you in, you know, unless one of those teams really takes off. And you got the Braves that are obviously, you know, they're holding down the last wild card spot. And so I think 90 gets you in like very comfortably, and even a couple wins below that, like good opportunity, unless like somehow the Mets, Giants, Braves all just kind of play out of their minds.
Like look at this, right? Right now, the Diamondbacks and Padres tied for the number 1 wild card spot. They're both 6.5 games up on the Mets. Now, that's important because the Mets right now are the closest non-wild card team. So that's what you start looking at. Like you look at the MLB.com standings, wild card +4, Mets -2.5. So right now that's 6.5 game lead with 40 games left from their closest competitor. The Giants are 4.5 along with the Reds and the Cardinals.
Yeah.
So they're 8.5 ahead of San Francisco, Cincinnati, and St. Louis when you're talking about who's going to run them down to get out of that wild card spot. So when you look at it that way, that's exciting. I mean, having a 6.5 game lead for a playoff spot right now with 40 games left, that sounds really, really nice to me.
Yeah, for sure. Our boy Rafa chimes in 6 against San Francisco upcoming. Don't hold your breath. And maybe we're overlooking that kind of stretch of games too. We're getting ahead of ourselves the last week of the season, but with the Giants still, in striking distance, and obviously, some personal history there with Bo Mel. Those are going to be really, really significant series. We got 3 in the middle of the month of September, and 3 about a week earlier than that at Oracle. Apparently, Grid Squad is going to Oracle. Says Padre fans need to take over Oracle for that mid-September series.
Dude, that would be so awesome. For that many times Giants fans have done that down here, go do it.
Rafa says, I'm kidding. We suck. I mean, look, I was just trying to give you the benefit of the doubt, Rafa. You know what I mean? I needle you enough about the Warriors, so I was trying to at least have the conversation. 619 Cam, Padres have a tough September schedule, so we control our destiny. And that's what's important about this stretch too, is like we really tough stretch after the All-Star break. Then they're like, okay, they need to eat, against the Pirates, against the Rockies, against the Marlins. And they've done that to this point. And, that White Sox series that Derek mentioned, among others, they got to take care of business there, given where they are.
Can I make a really hot take right now? As unaccustomed as I am to doing that.
Make it spicy, Derek. Make it spicy.
Okay. They go to Colorado for 3. They have the Twins for 3. Minnesota's a very good ball club. This is going to determine the season. This 8-game stretch between August 22nd and August 29th. 4 at home against the Mets, immediately to 4 on the road in St. Louis. If they go 5-3 in that stretch, there is no question they make the playoffs.
Yeah.
Absolutely no question. So, I mean, split against one, win the other one. That's all you have to do. And if they do that, then I don't see a route for some of these other clubs to come back and get them in the wild card. So 5-3 during that 8-game stretch, I think is enough to basically secure themselves a wild card spot. Then you start playing with the division and all that kind of stuff. That's just, if you do that in that stretch, here we go, playoffs.
Well, yeah. And if you extend that even further, like a week into
but that's
September,
not a hot take, Darnay. It has to be that stretch right there. That's it.
I'm adding to your hot take in that, like, they've basically bounced the Nationals out of the postseason. They've basically bounced the Pirates out of the postseason. That series against the Mets, you could do the same thing to them. That series against the Cardinals, you could do the same thing to them, put the final nail in the coffin. And then that first series against the Giants, you could do the same thing to them. And so you're absolutely right. If they come out of that, successfully and knock those teams' chances down again, like another game or two, then yeah, it's probably a wrap by the time you get into September.
Well, they basically single-handedly killed the Nationals, and then they basically single-handedly killed the Pirates.
Yeah.
So this team's like, you ever play like Mortal Kombat? Like, this team has a finishing move right now. Like, I'm digging this.
It's true. Which they have not had before.
Yeah, that's what they're doing, which is really nice to see. It's like, don't leave any doubt. When you got them down, kick them, stand on their throat, kick them some more. That's really nice to see them doing and not letting these teams hang around anymore. Like, just crush them and get them out of the way, place them on the discarded pile of your vanquished opponents, and then move on.
Yeah. Yeah, I love it. Lauren says, can we take a moment to appreciate this moment? Think back to whether this was ever in consideration when we started the year with Profar and Merrill starting with huge question marks. No, the answer is no. I think I pegged them at either 85 or 86 wins. And I felt like I was kind of on like the optimistic side, because you had people that thought, okay, maybe there'll be a 500 ball club. And so I thought like 85, 86 wins into the postseason. That was about the number that we saw last year. So I had them as a playoff team. few games above 500. Now talking 95 wins and division title. No, nobody could have reasonably saw that coming. Even after they acquired Cease, even after they acquired Luis Arise.
Yep.
Yeah, because like you didn't know that Profar was going to be a starter in the outfield for the All-Star game and continue to play as well as he has, and that Jackson Merrill would be like one of the best offensive and defensive center fielders in baseball. It's just wild.
It's crazy. What did I say at the beginning of the year win wise? I think I was like 89, 90.
Maybe you were closer.
I was, but don't quote me on that. That's kind of how I felt like what I would have said, but it's, I don't know. Yeah, being in this spot right now, it's being so close to the Dodgers is weird because they've had all kinds of injury troubles. The fact that you're sitting ahead of Atlanta, that's the biggest shocker to me. We knew that Arizona was going to be good again. We knew that the Phillies would be good again. We knew the Brewers probably the class of the Central. The fact that the Braves are this far back of the Phillies and sitting at like clinging on to that last wild card spot, that's the shocker to me. But again, you lose Acuna, you lose Strider, Olsen has a bad start, Riley has a bad start, and that's a lot to overcome. So Atlanta's the biggest surprise to me in the baseball season. The Padres, I don't think it's as big a surprise that they are winning. Maybe that they're sitting this far over 500 at this point in the year on such a hot streak. That's 16 games over. That's a little surprising. That's a lot surprising to me.
Yeah, I agree. We got about 15 minutes. One of the topics I want to get to, we got to talk Joe. We got to talk maybe some Martin Perez, David Peralta, like lots to touch on from the last week. But the other question that has picked up steam that has become a topic across baseball, not just in San Diego, is Jackson Merrill the National League Rookie of the Year, Derek?
I would vote for him. Yes, I would. And I talked to several people at Petco Park over the weekend about this very thing, or on Monday about this very thing, because Jackson Merrill absolutely deserves to be the Rookie of the Year because he has impacted more games in a positive way than Paul Skenes has. And he has learned a new position and played it incredibly well.
Yeah.
Now, not just like he's not a liability out there. He's a good center fielder, which is wild to think about. So does he deserve to be the National League Rookie of the Year? Yes, absolutely. He's not going to win it. And let me tell you why. Not because of the deserving thing, because we know the mentality of a lot of voters, right?
Yeah.
This is not a referendum on Jackson Merrill.
Sure.
It is Paul Skenes came on like gangbusters. And the second he started the All-Star game, all these voters are going to say, he started the All-Star game. He made Pirates baseball fun again. He was phenomenal. He took no hitters deep into games. He's throwing 102 miles an hour. They're going to look at him. My mind's made up. And so they've already got that vote done. In fact, the betting odds in Las Vegas right now have him as like 1 to 3,000 to win the rookie. Like it's not even close. So when you put yourself in the mentality of the voters, by the way, there are voters in Major League Baseball who did not vote for Tony Gwynn for the Hall of Fame. There are voters who did not vote for Hank Aaron for the Hall of Fame. Somebody a few years ago did not vote for Jacob deGrom to be the Cy Young winner when he was clearly far and away, without question, the best pitcher in the game. So you got to get in the head of the voters, and they're not. I would be shocked if they backed off their initial projection and their initial thought that Paul Skenes is the Rookie of the Year. Is Jackson Merrill more deserving? Yes, without question. I'd vote for him. He should be the guy. But I don't think there are enough voters out there who are paying attention to games in San Diego that start at 9:40 p.m. Eastern time to really understand that he's the guy. Does that make sense?
Complete sense. And I think that there's a chance that you may very well be right. I will say, like, there is momentum. And you mentioned Vegas. I think it was our buddy John Schaefer who tweeted something at some point this week. And so I just doing a quick Google search, SI.com, FanDuel, their sports book, has him. He was at minus 1,100 Skenes during the All-Star break. He is now at minus 170 and Merrill's at plus 115. So it's gotten considerably closer. And, it's not going to come down to Ken Rosenthal's vote solely. But he did say on a show this week that right now Jackson Merrill would get his vote. So it seems like there is some momentum. Like, is there enough? I don't know. Thing with Skenes, like, yeah, Merrill can survive a few, 0 for 4, 0 for 3 type games. Skenes is going to have to kind of be on his P's and Q's from here on out because, how many starts is he going to get? How many innings is he going to pitch? His numbers has been still really good, but maybe not quite as dominant over the last month or so. If he has a start where he gives up 5 runs in 3 innings, like what does that do? How does that impact his numbers? And then we're sitting, this conversation. I think the fact that this conversation is starting in early mid-August as opposed to like September, I think is meaningful because the Jeff Passons of the world are tweeting about Jackson Merrill. Like there's more awareness about what he's doing, and there is enough time to pay attention to it. And the fact that Pirates are out. They're not a playoff team. Padres are in this playoff race. There's going to be these marquee games that we're talking about that Jackson Merrill having a chance to make an impact, as we've seen him do with big 8th inning, 9th inning swings at a historic rate, even making that diving catch in center field to secure the win on Monday. So he's had these big moments for a playoff type team. There is some runway for him to kind of flip it. I think there is an opportunity for him to do that. But what does Skenes do? What does Merrill do? I mean, that's the thing. Like, there's no guarantee that Merrill continues to play as well as he has in the last month, few weeks, whatever. It's really like we're kind of in the 100-meter men's final right now, where the dude from, what was it, Thompson from Jamaica looks like the guy. You're 10 meters out. You think Jamaica's going to win, but you got Noah Lyles, closing the gap. And can Lyles do just enough, to get his torso to the finish line before, in this case, Paul Skenes does. It's going to be interesting to watch, but it's cool that we're at least having this conversation because, to your point, it did seem like this was pretty much buttoned up by the time the All-Star break came around.
Let's go back to 619 Camry. This is an interesting point. It's going to be like that East Coast bias thing that skews it, just like when Falk lost the Heisman to Gino Torretta, which is absolutely true because, and this is one of those things that is, oh, here you go. Sorry, I made the wrong one. When Skenes gets shut down sometime later this month, early September, Merrill will be a far more relevant option. Lauren, that is true as long as Pittsburgh's smart enough to do that. But when you look at the Heisman Trophy, you have to have a Heisman moment, right? Like Jaden Daniels last year, Heisman moment. Caleb Williams the year before, Heisman moment. Gino Torretta never had a Heisman moment. He was the quarterback on the best team in the country. Marshall Faulk had how many Heisman moments? It was 300-yard rushing games against BYU. Like, come on. He had all the Heisman moments in the world. He far and away should have won the Heisman Trophy that year. There you go. Exactly. So how many Rookie of the Year moments does Paul Skenes have versus how many Rookie of the Year moments does Jackson Merrill have? Right now, I will argue till the cows come home, Merrill has more Heisman Trophy, Rookie of the Year moments, walk-offs against Mason Miller, game-tying 8th inning home runs. He's been so good in the biggest moments of the games, where Skenes has been tremendous, and he has been wiping away hitters left and right with his dominant stuff. But where is his, maybe this is the All-Star game start, but where are his Rookie of the Year moments where you go, man, that thing's different?
Yeah, that's a great point. And even Merrill going back to Dodger Stadium, April, early in the season, 11th inning, go ahead, knock, so this started early and then he went on this torrid stretch where it's only grown since then. And it wasn't just one big swing. It was like almost on a nightly basis. And so, yeah, he's had those moments again, doing it for a winning team. I think the adjustment to center field, like that's part of it too. And yeah, you just mentioned kind of the way he impacts the game in so many different ways. If he were just an average outfielder, hadn't made really impressive defensive plays, game-saving catches, that might not do a whole lot for him. I don't know if it would necessarily be a detriment, but he at least has that behind him as well to kind of buoy his hopes. The fact that in his first year playing the position, he's played a really, really good center field. I don't necessarily think he's going to win the Gold Glove just based on I looked at Savant outs against average and he's way down the list, but nobody would confuse him for a bad center fielder. Anybody's watching be like, this kid can play. He's got an arm on him. He's got great range. And he's made really difficult catches throughout the season. So yeah, I think he's checking all the boxes.
No, but he's also not Ruben Rivera defensively. He's really, really good. He's just not among the best. And here's the thing, Darnay, we've seen this kid work in his athleticism. He can be one of the best in the game. from a defensive standpoint at center field. That would be amazing. I'm probably still scarred from 2020 when Jake Cronenworth should have been named the National League Rookie of the Year, and Devin Williams, a relief pitcher for the Brewers, did it because what do you have? Electric stuff, good numbers. Jake deserved the Rookie of the Year 10 times over anybody else in the National League that year, but Williams won it. Central time zone, more people see him, electric stuff. Jake's playing out on the West Coast.
Yeah. No, and that's I've heard that brought up as well. It's a good point. So we will see, but it's fun to at least have the conversation. Few more minutes. Joe's back Monday. Really nice return for him. Pitched well. What do you take away from that, and what that means for him and for the club going forward?
That's such a huge boost. I mean, such a huge boost. Just talking to guys before he made that start, I was out in the clubhouse and talking to Xander Bogaerts, and he's like, man, that guy, this presence on the mound helps us. And talking to Luis Ariz, it's just him being there. In the few times he's played behind him, it's just like it feels different. You know, Jake Cronin, we're saying, man, looking at what that guy does, the way he busted his tail to get back, it means a lot to this locker room that we've got a guy who wants to do that for us. So just the presence that he has to be showing the team how much it means to him to help them out is huge. And then you look at the way that he threw the ball. It was tremendous. First start back since May 26th. He only made one minor league rehab start. Like that was, you're thinking a guy's going to show some rust, show something. His velocity was a tick up. He was working over there at the Point Loma biomechanics lab. I was just over there a little bit ago talking to those guys. I can't share state secrets, but he's done some things to help himself out, to take some pressure off the elbow a little bit. The breaking stuff was crisp. It was one of the best starts that he's made all year, and he was knocking off rust. So as long as the elbow is good and he's done some things to take pressure off the elbow in the delivery, as long as he's good, he is right back to being No Joe, the guy who we know and love, who will, as we say on here, he will cut off a part of his own body to try and beat you over the head with it just so we can win a baseball game. It's amazing to have him in there. And furthermore, it gives you Randy Vasquez as a guy who's he's been very capable. You can win a lot of games, as we've seen with Randy Vasquez. That's going to be the guy who's kind of the odd man out, but they can bring him up to long relief. They can bring him up, as Schulte said, he didn't want to do the 6-starter thing, but that was before they had 27 games in 28 days. Maybe they kicked the tires on that, but he's a guy who now you can let him go down and work on some things in AAA and come back and be every bit as good as he was. It's from a logistical standpoint, it's awesome. From a momentum standpoint and a vibe standpoint, you can't put a number on it.
Yeah, and you had mentioned kind of the possibility of the 6-man rotation, like you said, with Randy going down. And Jeff Sanders from the UT, the rotation for this weekend: Friday Waldron, Saturday Cease, Sunday Musgrove, and then you're looking at King, I would imagine, followed by Martin Perez, who has also been like, what a revelation Perez has been, and now he's like taking some pressure off Randy Vasquez. It's given you the ability to send him down. I would imagine if you had to flip-flop guy, Sean Reynolds would be the one that would go down if you needed to bring a Vasquez or a Brito type back up. But as we discussed last week, like the group of arms that they have right now, like you don't really look at it and say, okay, like those are guys that we need. Those are guys that belong at the big league level. So there's not a ton of room for flexibility. I don't, when rosters expand, maybe you have some more options there, but just kind of an interesting spot that they're in. And, Joe Musgrove being part of that, looking good, feeling good, is obviously huge.
And by the way, Martin Perez, by the way, talked to him when he first got here before he was going to make his first start. And he said that he had been dealing with a groin injury for a lot of the year, over that now. And he was determined. I mean, the look in his eye was, I'm showing y'all what kind of pitcher I really am. Like, I'm here not just to kind of like fill in. I'm here to help this team win baseball games. And I'm going to be back to being the old Martin Perez, who was an all-star in 2022. Like, he was dead set on that, and he believed his stuff was back to that level. And darn it, if he hasn't looked exactly like that guy through a couple of starts with the Padres. He's been awesome.
Yeah, and he spoke after the game, obviously, and just like feels really, really good. Sounds really confident. You mentioned determined. And he started to tinker with his pitch mix. He said his last start with Pittsburgh, it was against St. Louis. said, look, everybody's looking for the fastball. I need to rely on, spinning. I need to rely on breaking stuff. And so that's what he's done. I mean, he's, it's been primarily secondary stuff.
Change curve cutter. Yeah.
Yeah. When you're not blowing it by guys, the fastball can be susceptible. And in that start against the Cardinals, he pitched 6 scoreless for the first time this season. And he has carried that over since. I think it's 4 runs over 18 and a third in 3 starts. And so he's been more than what anybody could expect him to be. And so, yeah, he's found the mix. He's found the approach at the right time, pitching with a ton of confidence, and he's a veteran guy. And so, yeah, it's huge. 619 Cam, any updates on Tatis or Darvish? I saw Tatis was out in the field with
on
the
Monday.
team.
Yeah, Monday. Yeah. I was when I talked to Schulte on Monday. He said Tatis was back. He was back in the clubhouse, walking around. He was working out in Arizona at the Peoria Sports Complex. Came back with the team to continue the rehab, so they don't have a timetable yet. But that's typically in the progression of these things a positive sign, because it means one of 2 things. Usually it means that the player is getting close enough that they can go out on a rehab assignment and they want to get kind of back integrated in the clubhouse. Or it means that things have gone haywire and they need to come back here and see the doctors again. Don't think it's the second one. Think it's the first one. As for Darvish, Yu has been actually organizing his own live batting practice sessions around San Diego. So he's throwing. And apparently he's to the point where he's throwing, not just like throwing bullpen sessions, he's facing hitters. Now, who these hitters are they local college kids? We don't know. Schulte wouldn't divulge that because he said he pretty much found out about it not too long ago as well. Giving you a very wide berth, as he should, caring about him as a human being first, because he's going through some personal stuff. But if Yu's out there throwing again, that's a really good sign, because he had the leg, and then he had the little elbow inflammation. If he's out there going again, still hold out hope he might be able to return by the end of the year.
We'll go out on this. Back-to-back games with a homer for David Peralta. Nobody's expecting this out of David Peralta, right?
How awesome is that? He's a good dude.
You look, this series against the Pirates, somebody new stepping up, Bogarts and Hickey, Manny and Peralta, Rise, Merrill, Cronenworth with his first homer since July 20th.
Donnie Barrels.
Different, yeah, Donnie Barrel, like different guys seemingly every single day. Obviously that's the case with the rotation, but those guys have been so good. This is just, again, I want your thoughts just on the identity of the team that's allowed them to have, and Merrill spoke about it, like everybody has confidence and belief in everybody, and that's what allows you to go out there and play well. And that's been such a big part. Like, I think last year we expected, okay, this is going to be the Soto, Machado, Bogarts, Tatis show. And that wasn't the case. It's ever really Soto. This year you expect big things from those guys, but like it's the closest thing to a true team effort that I've seen in my 6 seasons covering the Padres, where like everybody's involved, everybody's contributing, and you never know one night to the next who's going to be the reason that they won again.
It's depth. And you know what it is? It is a complete belief in anyone and everyone that when they're in that moments, that guy's going to come through. So what we saw a lot of last year was either I have to be the guy because I want a contract, or I have to be the guy because I'm not sure anybody else in this lineup can be the guy. This year, you are seeing complete buy-in for anybody. It doesn't matter if Kyle Higashioka is catching, if Luis Campusano is catching, if Tyler Wade's playing shortstop. There is complete belief up and down this lineup that whoever is out there is going to do their job when the job needs to be done. That is the biggest difference between this year and last year. And when you have that belief in your teammates feel that belief in them. And that goes such a long way to putting them in a good mental state to be able to perform when the lights are the brightest. Plus, they cannot look at themselves in the face as professionals and say, I'm not letting a 21-year-old outplay me. So Jackson Merrill has done so much for the vibe and the energy around this club. I know we use vibes a lot, but it's very true. He has injected a ton of enthusiasm and energy into this clubhouse and this team. It's up and down the lineup. It's infectious. I don't know. He probably needs a day off at some point. Like during this 27 games in 28 days, they've had a lot of off days. I have to worry about it right now. He's going to need a day off. Right? Mm-hmm. As much energy as he has, as in good shape as he is, he's gonna need it. It's a long grind of a season. I think Mike Schulte is scared to take him out of the lineup right now. And damn it, he should be scared.
A few more comments as we go out. 619 Cam. Props to Wade as well. Just need Ha-seong Kim and Campy to pick it up. Grit Squad, Peralta, a.k.a. Lil Poppy, has been very solid. Great veteran lefty bat off the bench and in the playoffs. There are a couple more. Let's see. Chip Rocks. We'll finish with this one. Look at it this way. Merrill's going to get some votes for MVP. Skenes will not. So Merrill equals Rookie of the Year. I like that logic. That's fun logic to me.
I like it, but Skenes will get votes for Cy Young.
Yes.
So that's how you counter that. It's
give him the Cy Young. Give Merrill Rookie of the Year. I don't care if that seems counterintuitive. Just do it.
Were we talking about this having a Rookie of the Year for pitchers and a Rookie of the Year for position players?
Yeah.
I'm down with that. That would be great.
You only give any love to our guy Hoeing. I mean,
Brian Hoeing. Thank you. Brian Hoeing has been tremendous. He's been, seriously, that might be the steal. Can't forget about Adam and Scott. That might be the steal of the trade deadline. Look at what that guy did when Dylan Cease had to go out after 14 pitches in the rain delay in Pittsburgh. Comes out and throws, what was it, 3 1/3, something like that. He's been tremendous the entire time. He's been given some length to the bullpen. He's been absolutely awesome.
Vibes are at an all-time high. Love it.
He's 6'6". You want to go out and play some pickup basketball? You got yourself a power forward.
Yeah, any day. Between he and Sean Reynolds is 6'8". I want to see those guys going at it on the block.
The Twin Towers. Forget about Olajuwon and Sampson.
Preller's got to get those guys on his pickup team. They could do some work. All right, man. This was good. This was good. Vibes are great. Everybody's feeling good. 19-3, unbelievable stretch. Division race, Rookie of the Year race. I mean, everything's coming up Padres right now. I love it. And on to Colorado, Minnesota. Big games, big series ahead. And hey, maybe next Thursday when we're talking, Padres will be in first place in the NL West. We'll see.
That would not suck. That would not suck at all. Hey, by the way, Darnay, we got all the folks on the chat here, which is awesome. A lot of people watching this as we go. For people listening on the podcast, how can they get involved in this?
Yes, we go live on YouTube. I try to tweet out when. Generally, it's Thursday afternoons, 2 or 3 o'clock. But you can follow NBC San Diego YouTube channel. There is an On Friar playlist where you can catch all our episodes. And like I said, usually that day or a few hours before, we'll have the episode, the live stream up. You can find out when it is. Follow me on Twitter. I usually let folks know when we're doing it, but usually Thursday afternoons. Typically it's been around 2 or 3 o'clock where we're live and we're here. And so if you want to talk Padres, come on in. This has been a lot of fun. It's been a good time, and it's good to see everybody fired up about it. It makes doing this even more fun than it already is.
Because I can honestly say, man, like I feel more energized during this podcast than most of them. It's because I got folks in here like actually having, and it's been good, intelligent conversation. So thanks to Grit Squad, 3 Amigos, 619 Cam, everybody, Lauren, everybody who's in here, like good. Thank you for the intelligent baseball talk. Seriously, I appreciate you.
Amen. It's been a blast. Thank you, and we will catch up with you next week.